Alright, so my name is Scott Peter, and I'm going to be giving a talk about what the Catholic Church believes about confession. So, has anyone ever wondered why Catholics go to confession? It's an interesting topic. So first I'm going to start with saying, what is confession to a Catholic? Confession is a sacrament. Catholics believe that this is the system God instituted for the forgiveness of sins on this earth. So what is a sacrament? A sacrament is a direct interaction with Christ, or as the Catechism of the Catholic Church defines it, an efficacious sign of grace instituted by Christ and entrusted to the Church by which divine life is dispensed. That can be kind of hard to understand though. So I like to say a sacrament is a direct interaction with Christ. So, where is confession in the Bible? A Catholic would say that confession is instituted in John chapter 20, verse 19 through 21. The setting of this scene is right after Jesus died, and then he rose from the dead, and he was in his ascension. And this is the first time when he's going to see his apostles. So, Jesus says, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I send you." And when he had said this, he breathed on them and said to them, "Receive the Holy Spirit. Whose sins you forgive are forgiven them, and whose sins you retain are retained." A Catholic would say to this statement, how can one forgive a sin if they do not hear it? It is also an important factor to note that the apostles do not have power to forgive sins on their own. That is not a Catholic belief, but rather they believe that Jesus has passed down this authority through this thing called apostolic succession. So, what is apostolic succession? A Catholic would say apostolic succession is the belief that the power to forgive sins and to consecrate the Eucharist was given to the apostles and is passed on within the Catholic order of priests that are under the current Pope. So, technically speaking, we believe that Peter was the first Pope of our Catholic Church, and the other apostles were the first bishops. And all the priests that are in today's time can trace their lineage back to either Peter the Pope or one of the bishops, meaning one of the other apostles. So to go back to John chapter 20, verse 19 to 21, there's a significant statement in that. It says, he breathed on them. And this is significant because there are only two accounts of God breathing on people in the Bible. One account is in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. And this is when Jesus breathed life into Adam's nostrils. The second account is in John chapter 20, verse 19 through 21. A Catholic finds it that it's very correlative that God only chooses these two instances to speak about breathing in the Bible. First, where he breathes in physical life, and second, where he breathes in the opportunity to be reborn again into the spiritual life. There are also other benefits of confession that a Catholic would say, but aren't necessarily the main ones. So, the sacrament of confession, main goal may be to forgive sins, but also it helps with the vice of pride. Going to confession is not easy, but it's a great way to be humbled. And as it says in Matthew chapter 23, verse 12, not directly quoted, but it says, "The last shall be first, and the humbled shall be exalted." So by going to confession, it's a great opportunity to be humbled. Also, this is just a side note, But some Catholics find it as a motivation not to sin, because they say, well, I don't want to have to confess it later in confession, so it's a good intrinsic way not to sin. So in conclusion, according to the Catholic Church, confession is a sacrament that Jesus instituted for the forgiveness of sins, and this is highly dependent on the doctrine of apostolic succession. Apostolic succession meaning that the authority to forgive sins has been passed down first by Jesus to the apostles, and then down the line all the way to the priests that we have today. The breath of God is an important factor, as well as in establishing the significance of confession to the Catholic, with the first instance being bringing physical life, the next instance in John 20, verses 19 through 21, bringing the opportunity to be reborn again in the spiritual life. And the last point is the benefits of humility and incentive not to sin. Thank you. Any questions?